Jose, can you update us on what happened at the Georgia battery plant in the U.S.? So there was a raid, and you said that will set you back 2-3 months.
Right. So that was a bad surprise, and the number one surprise was that I received a phone call, and then what happened, and then it was not our plant, but it was portrayed as if it was our plant. It was an LG plant, and then we are shareholders, but it's a separate plant from the assembly plant. Well, I think there was a kind of independent activity from either the federal government and the state government. I got phone call from the White House apologizing for what happened. They were not aware, they didn't know, so why this is happening when the company, as part of the South Korea tariff negotiation, is really making big commitments to invest in the country. As I mentioned earlier, $26 billion in the next 4 years versus $20.5 billion in the last 40 years, which is the time we've operated in the US. That was a kind of a big surprise. The governor of Georgia, Governor Kemp, also called me and said, I don't know what happened. This is not a state jurisdiction. So apparently somebody made a phone call and made it look like there were illegal immigrants. That's absolutely not the case. And in fact, President Trump didn't want those workers to get back to Korea. The fact is, there are a number of jobs that require to be specialized. And in particular, in the battery business, and a number of processes and technologies that are not available in a very well-developed country like the United States. And then you need to bring specialized people to do it. The system, the immigration system does not recognize that. So I think if we want to be positive, I always try to apply the PMA attitude, positive mental attitude, right? So the good thing is that as a result, we've had a lot of discussions with the federal government, with the state, with the immigration authorities, both in Korea and in the United States. And now we're finding very good permanent solutions, not only for our suppliers like LG, but for our own people. We have thousands of people who come and help us to establish the operation, and then they go back to Korea. And I think for others as well. We're coordinating much better among all the companies that are impacted. And I think at the same time...
And it hasn't dented actually your commitment to the U.S. in the slightest.
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, we need to look at the things in the long term. This happened right 1 week before we were having the very first CEO Investor Day outside of Korea in the history of the company. And it was me, the first non-Korean CEO, making the presentation in New York. And they asked me, are you going to change your plans? Oh no, we are not here for the short term. We've been in this country for many years. This is the number one market, is where we make the most. We cannot just simply, because something happened, which is obviously an accident, and then you get even apologies from the President of the United States just saying that this is going to change our plan. No, on the contrary, I said we double down. We want to maintain our investment in the country. We think that in the mid to long term, things are going to get better, but obviously we need to make also a lot of adjustments to the supply chain, to the products that we're going to produce. But ultimately, it's all about having good products in the market, being very competitive, high quality, top safety, durability, reliability, to be competitive in the marketplace. If you don't get back to your fundamentals and you change your strategy when you have an event, then things are going to change. So, for example, by the end of September, IRA finished. Right, and then OEMs and the consumers were getting benefit of $7,500 if you bought an electric vehicle. Well, we see what happens in China, we see what happens in Europe, and even in the United States. In many states, the EV is a better solution for the consumer. So we have maintained our plan. We not only maintain the Savannah plant investment, which is about $12.6 billion and more than 8,500 people, but we have announced an expansion. But then what we're doing with this expansion, instead of doing all electric vehicles, we're going to produce also hybrid, EREV, extended range EV, and fuel cell EV, etc. So flexibility, adaptability, being very fast to be able to capitalize on the new situation. So I remember we were announcing the new factory, the grand opening in March, the Liberation Day, when the President announced the tariffs.
Perfect timing.
Yeah, perfect timing. So they were asking me, wow, you're such a visionary, right? So you knew this was happening, and then you are localizing. Yes, exactly. So the things don't work this way, right? So you need to have a plan, stick to your plan, adapt it, be very fast, and always look at the different players to maintain good performance to your shareholders and ultimately to delight your customers. We call it sonnim, which is the honor guest concept in Korea.
If you like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe.